Welcome. Today I'll break down the strengths, weaknesses, best game modes, usage, level priorities, and because these two units are new, I have some crucial key tips that you will not want to miss out on, so stay tuned. Both Lightseeker and Necromancer have very similar stat scaling, just like the GOAT. Their health and attack doubles every level until level 4. If you watched my content before, you already know I call the level 4 the sweet spot for Mythics. That's the point where Mythics can finally hold their own against level 6 legendaries. At level 4, both units unlock their secondary ability, which makes them extremely useful. Lightseeker, things to know about his ability. It only goes off one time when his health drops below half. It does splash damage to enemy units standing next to him for 3 seconds. Now here's the first key tip. You may know that he does AoE damage, but what you might not know is that it deals his base damage every second for 3 seconds. That's 300% damage of his base attack. Second key tip. His healing is continuous, 16,000 every second for 3 seconds. At level 4, that means that he can take up to 80,000 damage. And as you may already know, his level 4 ability buffs is endless once triggered. Now for the third key tip. Because of his ability to self-heal and deal splash damage, he's actually a really good unit to be used for flanks and stabs. As you can see in this backstab play, the opponent has groups of mages and archers in the back. I send the Lightseeker to the back where he immediately draws the attentions of the ninja assassins. Once his health drops below half, he deals AoE damage plus his buff damage. And because of his self-healing, he's able to distract the opposing army long enough for my Bone Marksman to fire off his ability. Or pretty much any ability that requires 10 seconds to charge. Here is the result of the battle of the damage he dealt, the damage he took, and his comparison to other units. And to show you one more battle. Insights for new players. At level 2, he's still too weak for the cost to deploy. At level 3, he has a decent option for stabs and flanks, and level 4 is where you want him to be at. The Lightseeker dealing fire type damage, even at level 3 for new players, is a good option for Evil Ivy Hunt. Because of his self-healing ability during Ivy's knockback phase, you can place him in the front to block your weaker units from stepping up too far and not have to worry about him taking damage. For Affinity War, you can use him during shattering waves. He can be placed in the back, work as bait for assassins and barbarians, and still deal solid damage. For PvP, he's good for endgame clutches, good for soaking backstabs, baiting assassins, and absorbing outflank pressure. Now the Necromancer. The Necromancer is basically a dual unit character, the Necromancer himself and the skeleton he summons. So to start with the skeletons, they have very similar stats to the Goblin Shep and appears to share similar scaling, meaning the higher the level of the Necromancer, the better they are. Now the Necromancer himself. While he shares the same stat scaling as Lightseeker, his shorter attack range and time-based ability means he's average without his level 4 stat and his level 4 ability with the level 4 skeletons. So here's an upgrading advice. If you have 2 level 4 Necromancer, don't merge them into a level 5 right away. You want to wait until you get a third one before merging 2 of them to a level 5. The reason why is because the more Necromancer you have, the more skeletons you'll have. The more skeletons you have, the better your frontline pressure is. In PvP, the Necromancer becomes extremely dangerous in the late game. The Necromancer is extremely good for Ivy Hunt and Affinity War. And now for some crucial information that you may want to know. The game may not always show you the stats of the skeletons, the damage they deal and the damage they take. So here I've set up the Ivy Hunt and the Infinity War to show you guys how much damage they're dealing and how much damage they're taking. So that was about 3 minutes of survival. And you can see here the skeleton did 700,000 damage and the Necromancer did 300,000 damage. That's 1 million damage total. And now to the Infinity War. You can see how well the skeleton is holding up the front line. And here you can see how much damage they did. They did 300,000 damage. But the most important part is how much damage they took. And it took 460,000 damage. If you compare that to the damage that was dealt from the other side, they're taking a third of the damage that was dealt. And with that, guys, my final thoughts is that the Lightseeker has more utility. He can be played as regular, he can be played in backstab, flanks. He does okay in Ivy Hunt, and depending on the Infinity War, he also does okay. And the Necromancer is really good if you can keep him alive for PvP, and extremely good for modes like Ivy Hunt and Infinity War. And that, guys, is my take on both units. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.